Hello, good morning, everyone.
Morning, Doc.
Can my
Morning,
let
Doc.
me good morning to all of you. Uh,
Morning.
is my screen already shared?
Not yet, Doc. Not yet.
Doc.
How is what about now? Is it already shared? Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, Doc.
Okay. So last time we ended with regards to what Prophet Daniel had said how is this now? That there would be a surge in research in Daniel 12:4 in the time of the end because it is being characterized by the increase of knowledge. I am now having problem with going to the next slide. I don't know. Let me, because this would not transfer to the next slide. What will I? I am having a problem with transferring to the next slide because if I push the next, so here it is. Am I still seen? I mean, is my slide still seen?
Not yet po.
Not anymore, Doc.
Uh, so given the role of research in contemporary society and also in the educational practice, because we are now in an educational institution called LIMS, the Bible is making this clear that whatever we do, it should be done for the glory of God, and even in research. So Ellen White has said this, that in order to understand the truth of God, there is that need of deep research. So research is very broad, and even in understanding the truth of God, which is the focus of this institution. While we understand that the field of research is very broad, we are trying to limit our field of research in biblical studies, in the area of what is revealed in the Word of God, and understanding, analyzing, evaluating the statement in the Bible, which we consider to be the Word of God. Now let's go back to the definition of research. Research is a purposive, meaning you really have the intention to do it. So that's why it is purposive. It is systematic. So there is a way of doing it. It is not just a simple search, but there is a system that has to be followed. And it is scientific. When we say scientific, there is a proper procedure. There is an approach that has to be done because it has to go into a procedure in reaching that particular conclusion. The conclusion is a product of a thorough investigation by scientific method. So there is a close scrutiny, close searching, evaluation. So there is a thorough gathering of data. When we say thorough, it must be well represented, not necessarily everything. Others would call it exhaustive, but there is a logical and reasonable data that is gathered to warrant the conclusion that one may arrive at. And then organizing. So there has to be a thorough organization of doing things. So you organize, for example, if you gather the theme, you gather everything what is said, then you organize them. Then you interpret based on the data that you have gathered. Let's say, for example, in the Bible, you want to find out how does the Bible define sin? So you gather everything what the Bible says about sin. Whether sin is confined to a mere act or there are other aspects that would be considered as sin. So you have to gather and then organize them. Then maybe you can classify them. So that is the point. Then presenting it and then interpreting the data. That is why your conclusion should always be based upon evaluation, then organizing them, classifying them, analyzing them, then interpreting them based on what you have analyzed. But you come to the analysis, you do the analysis by organizing them according to theme, according to context, according etc. etc. Now, it is also for prediction. In other words, you are going to see the patterns. This is the normal pattern. So you can already predict what will happen next because you see the pattern. So upon observing the pattern, you can already predict what will take place. For example, yung mga kabog. Ano ba yung kabog sa Tagalog? Kabog sa Bisaya. There are certain points in time na,
Kulaknet. Paniki.
Basta hindi po na hindi yung kwaknit, iba yung kwaknit, iba yung kabog. Yung kwaknit mga maliliit. Yung makikita mo yung paniki ba yun? Okay. So makikita mo yung pattern nila. Noong maliit pa ako, makikita ko tuwing hapon pa ang daming lumilipad sa itaas. Tapos that would only happen in a particular point of time, certain month, etc. And so if you are observant enough and then you understand the pattern, for example, group of birds that are flying or group of fishes behaving in that manner, then by constant observation, then you will understand its normal pattern and you can already predict whenever you see that particular instance. So observation could also lead you to a conclusion. So you can be able to predict. And then also for invention, that is the purpose of research. That's why inventions or what we all now have perhaps are products of invention. These are products of research. And then discovery of truth. There are some things that are unknown to you. You want to find out, why is this? Why? You are asking question. Oh, why is this such and such? So you do research, you conduct investigation, scientific, etc., following a scientific process, and then you will be able to find the truth. So that is one way of that is one characteristic of research. That is to the discovery of truth. And for the expansion or verification of existing knowledge. So there is already an existing knowledge. It is already an established knowledge, but you want to verify some more. Because there are some, for example, in the field of medicine. Sometimes we already have an established idea of what cancer is. What is cancer? But others are trying to discover some more with the truth about cancer. And they find some other variables aside from what has been established. So they are exploring some more, and even, in fact, they would discover a little bit of difference from what has been established, established knowledge. So it is also for the preservation and improvement. I mean, that is the purpose, for the preservation and improvement of the quality of human life. So that is all for the benefit of man. So almost all research are done for the benefit of man. So if it is for the glory of God, that is the ultimate benefits of man, because if we glorify God, then that would be the ultimate benefit of man. Now, let us try to look into the classification of research again, because there are different approaches. As I have said, there is experimental. So usually natural science conducts experiment. So usually in experimentation, there is control group and there is test group. So control group are not they are only the basis, but the test group are the ones that will have to be observed, be tested, be treated, etc. That is in experiment. Here in our field, we do not do much about experimental. If ever there is, that would be a unique study in the field of Bible. Maybe in relation to Bible, you will try to experiment whether what the Bible says is true. Let's say, for example, this is what the Bible says, and you want to find out by conducting an experiment. So you will engage in experimentation. Others is non-experimental. And of course, you do not engage in experiment. With quasi-experimental, we have cited the case of Daniel, and they wanted to be tested for 10 days. That was quasi-experimental. And then others is combined. There is experimental and non-experimental. It is combined. Another classification of research is according to measurement and analysis. This is now where one of it is we are part of. First is quantitative. So when we say quantitative, it deals with quantity. You are dealing with numbers. And in dealing with numbers, you have to treat it through or statistics. So there is weighted mean and other things that will, statistical tool that would be used are Pearson, t-test, etc. These are in dealing with quantitative analysis. You gather data. For example, this can also be conducted in school or in the church. For example, you want to find out as to the knowledge of the brethren as far as in the aspect of salvation. Let's just put, for example, one sentence. You write there, we have to keep the commandments of God in order to be saved. Then you put the scale there according to the description. For example, you say, strongly agree, or slightly agree, neutral, slightly disagree, strongly disagree. We have tried that here in South Philippine Adventist College, and that was all about salvation. We have to keep the commandments of God in order to be saved. We found out that most of the students, in fact, we also tried to see in their demography, how long have they been an Adventist. Others are 10 years as an Adventist, 5 years, etc. And you find there that their answer is strongly agree. Around 90% check the strongly agree. So we discovered that most of the students who have been an Adventist for so long still believe that we have to keep the law in order to be saved. So that is in using quantitative method of research. You can also do the same in the church. You find out the reason why brethren go back to church. Go back in the afternoon in a small number. When I was in the US, when they knew that I was there, that time I was in California, when I was also in New York, the same. There were invitations. And then there was an invitation said, Pastor, you better come to our church because it is only in our church that there is a service or there is a program in the afternoon. Most of the churches here in California do not have program in the afternoon. And so it was a great surprise to me that statement that most of the churches here do not have AY program. They do not have program in the afternoon. So in the Philippines, the same observation, while majority are having program in the afternoon, but you see the attendance is very significant. There is a significant decrease in attendance. Also, you might conduct a quantitative approach in research. Quantitative type of research in finding out what are the reasons for the decrease of attendance in the afternoon. Then you might try to see some factors. Then you classify those factors. For example, one factor is they want to sleep. They are not interested of joining the program in the afternoon because that is intended for the youth. So you put some factors and then make some questionnaires out of those factors. Then perhaps you will put a Likert scale on those factors. Perhaps you will use 4 Likert scale, strongly agree, or neutral, and then strong or disagree or strongly disagree, whatever. Then you will find out based on the answers by analyzing, gathering, and then gathering all those who said strongly agree or disagree, etc. Then you will then get the percentage and then interpret them, and then you can make a conclusion out of that finding. That is in quantitative. So in biblical research, we do not actually do generally quantitative, but in our church, we can do quantitative. But in biblical scrutiny, that is not quantitative because it does not deal with statistics. It does not deal with numbers. So that is quantitative. Another is qualitative. And so in qualitative, we all understand that this is engaged in thorough investigation. Most are conducted in interview. That's why when you conduct research in the Manobo, etc., their behavior, their tradition, etc., you conduct an investigation. You conduct thorough questioning, in-depth questioning. You record their answers, then you transcribe their answers, you evaluate their answers, you analyze them according to themes, and then you will be able to find the major theme. That is your finding of your qualitative research. So that is characterized generally by investigation, and many investigations are done through one-on-one interview. Another investigation is documentary investigation. So that is still part of qualitative. You investigate some documents, reliable documents, some sources. That's why there is primary source and secondary sources, etc. We will go back. We will go to that later. So that is qualitative. And combined, some are conducting research in both. Doing the both kind, quantitative and qualitative. So you conduct questionnaires through survey, and then you do some in-depth questioning, and you do in a personal investigation. For example, in a particular city, there are, let's say, 5 churches, and you notice that in one church, many are members in one church that are far from their place. They have church near to them. Why is it that these persons, these families, are a member of that church that is very far, whereas they have a very church, they are near to a very church, even walking distance church. But why did they prefer to a far church in the city, of which it would take 2 rides, 3 rides, or whatever, and then it's expensive? Why did they choose? Then perhaps that could be a source of investigation. Either you would use quantity or you would use quality to find out. You will formulate questionnaire. You might perhaps find some factors, then formulate some questionnaire, and then let them answer. And if you are not just contented of answering them by checking, agree or disagree, etc., you would also conduct a personal questioning, thorough investigation, one-on-one interview. Why is it that you prefer to choose that church? That church is not big, and it is also far. There is a church near you, but it is beautiful church, painted church. In fact, it is just a walking distance church from you. But why did you choose this? So through that investigation, you will find an answer. So you will deal with questionnaire through what is this? Survey questionnaire rather, and then you could also conduct one-on-one interview. So it's a combined method in finding out the truth, finding out the reason. So your problem could be answered, your question could be answered, because you cannot do research without formulating a question, because your conclusion would be an answer to the questions that you have formulated. Another classification of research is according to motive or objective. So there is basic research, there is applied research, and there is historical research. So basic research is focused on the advancement of knowledge rather than solving a problem. In other words, you just want to explore something because you wanted to contribute knowledge out of this. It's not being perhaps researched before. This is something unknown yet. So you explore and then you advance knowledge in that particular area. You find out something which may not be a problem, but by trying to advance knowledge on that particular field, then you will be able to contribute knowledge. In applied research, of course, efforts are exerted toward finding a solution to a problem. So there is a problem and you wanted to find out how is that problem going to be solved. So you conduct research. For example, in a particular community, there is a problem of robbery, a problem of theft, or a problem of drug addicts. Then you conduct research. How are these problems going to be solved? So what is the cause of the problem? So you can find research what is the cause, because finding solution to the problem is primarily finding the cause, not the symptom, but the cause. And then by addressing the cause, ito pala ang hinungdan. Ito pala ang hinungdan. Ano ba yung hinungdan sa Tagalog?
Dahilan.
Ito pala ang dahilan. So, mayroon ka ng pamamaraan sa pag-address dahil nag-research ka at nakikita mo yung dahilan. Perhaps the way of finding it is through quantitative or qualitative. You conduct an in-depth interview and then you find similar patterns of answer. Drug addiction, problema. Magtanong ka ng mga nalulong na drug addict 10 at makita yung common dahilan. Makikita mo, ito ang common dahilan talaga. Ito. So, you characterize the dahilan according to theme. Unang dahilan ito, pangalawang dahilan ito, pangatlong dahilan. Sa pangatlong dahilan, magkaiba sila, hindi lahat. Pero ito talaga, lahat sa 10 tinatanong ko, itong number 1 dahilan, present sa lahat na tinatanong. Itong pangalawa, sa 10, sa 7 mayroon, sa 3 wala. Itong pangatlong dahilan, sa 5 mayroon, pero sa 5 wala. itong pangunahin talaga sa 10, lahat nasa kanila. So now you know how to address the problem. So that is in applied research. In historical research, you deal with history. So you find out the historical, the record of how things happened, how they existed. For example, you want to find out the first Seventh-day Adventist Church in Leyte. Saan ba nagsimula ang pinakaunang simbahan sa Leyte? So, hindi mo pa alam. So you have to find out saan ba, anong town, anong municipality, sino ang unang nakapunta dyan, paano nagsimula ang church dyan, mayroon bang evangelistic crusade na kinandak dyan, ganyan ba ang pamaraan sa pag-umpisa ng church sa Leyte? Ewan ko kung saan ba nag-umpisa sa Leyte, baka si Dokre alam niya kung saan sa Leyte, anong pinakaunang church sa Leyte, anong lugar sa Leyte na natayo ang pinakaunang church. Mayroon na bang historical record yan, Dokre? Kayo ay taga Leyte yata? So, that is an example of historical research. There was one church who wanted to establish or to establish to have an anniversary for the church anniversary. And so they do not know what month are they going to celebrate the church anniversary. And their church has existed for more than 50 years. And most of the members there, wala na. Yung mga nangunguna sa church nila, wala na lahat, patay na lahat. So silang lahat, walang kaalam-alam. Ano ang buwan natapos itong church na to? Kailan ba ito naumpisahan na nagsimba ang mga Adventista dito doon, itong church na to? And so you have to conduct a research. Magtanong-tanong sa mga karaan, sa mga karaan. Magtanong sa mga
Matatanda, Dok.
mga
Matatanda,
matatanda, mga tao. Kung wala diyan makasagot, magtanong sa iba para malaman mo kailan itong church natapos na to. Sa bulan pala ng Mayo. Bulan ng Mayo. So every May tayo ay magkaroon ng anniversary celebration ng ating church. So you conduct historical research. So that is one of the classification of research. Another classification of research is in the research environment. So what kind of environment are you engaged in conducting your research? So there is field research. So you go to a particular place and then conduct a research. Geography, mining, historical. So you go to that particular place because you wanted to find out something. You have prepared questions and you wanted that questions to be answered, then you conduct research. You go to a particular field, particular place. Another is laboratory research. So you are conducting a research in a laboratory. So you must have a laboratory first. Put some tools in the laboratory, rather equipments in the laboratory. Maybe it requires a microscope or it requires a stethoscope, whatever. There is laboratory research. Same with clinical. Another is clinical research. So this is more specific. Laboratory is broader. Clinical is a specific, what is this? Environment and documentary research. So you will be dealing with documents, finding out, gather documents, analyze what is said in the document, the context in the document, etc. The date, the historical background of that document. Why is that stated in that manner? So these are classifications of research according to research environment. Again, as I have pointed out a while ago, that in research, they are generally classified into, quali and quanti. That is based on the measurement and analysis, qualitative and quantitative research. In qualitative research methods, you have their case studies. So you can make an investigation on a particular case. That is case studies. There is a particular case, you want to find out what transpired in that case, what is the problem, why did that happen, what is the cause of the problem, what are the factors affecting that problem, and then you conduct an investigation, not necessarily dealing with numbers. For example, police investigation, they are dealing with case. They go to the place, then know who are the eyewitnesses when the event happened, and then conduct an investigation through questioning, interview. Were you here when this incident happened? Yes, I was there. Did you see in your two eyes? Yes. What happened when the incident happened? Then he will describe everything. Then the police would ask further question. At what time did this happen? How many are here? Who was at fault? Who is in error during this incident, etc., etc. So you conduct investigation, in-depth investigation, investigating an individual. Okay.
Doc,
Okay, hello.
what can you say about the talk of the town that malunggay has a high content of vitamin C? What particular research is applicable if I want to know whether malunggay really has a high or a higher or the highest content of vitamin C among say vegetables or maybe including fruits. What particular type of research am I going to use with regards to finding as to whether malunggay has really the highest content of vitamin C?
Okay, usually it is, at first, maybe you have some question about that, then you will like to find an answer. But you can apply basic and applied research, and then you do perhaps some laboratory research or documentary. You find out what are the writings in regard to this. Why are they saying that malunggay is rich in vitamin C? So you go some documentary research. What is the basis of reaching to that conclusion? What kind of research or what method they use in conducting that, and so you will get an idea. And because research is repeatable, observable and then repeatable, you can do the same process, the same procedure. I am not actually familiar in finding out what, why, or how did they come up with quantifying the percentage of vitamin C in a particular plant. I do not know what are the tools being used. This must be scientists, natural scientists, perhaps more specializing in that particular field. They must have tools that are used in gauging the quantity or the amount of vitamins in a particular plant. I am not very much familiar with the kind of tools they use. So you go into say, okay, Doc, continue.
So does it mean that if I have to focus on malunggay, then maybe I can do a particular series of research. First is with regards to finding out what are the present documentaries
Yes.
of the content of vitamin C in malunggay, then make partial conclusions perhaps with regards to what I have found out as with regards to what these reliable resources say. Then going to the next step, I can do laboratory experiment
Yes.
about the presence of vitamin C in malunggay.
Yes.
Then I will also the next maybe I will do some comparative research
Yes, that's right.
in order to find out the content of vitamin C in malunggay and the content of vitamin C in kamyas. Say for example, kamyas
No,
or
mango or
iba sa
tomato.
tuwa.
Yeah.
Okay, so or maybe just among leaves,
Yes, yes.
not
Okay.
because fruits should
Fruits.
be
Oh, yeah.
also compared with other fruits,
Other fruits. Okay, okay.
but leaves, maybe lemongrass or
Mm.
whatever would be the are the leaves that contains or vegetables rather that contains that is claimed to have contents of vitamin C. So I can do experimental research,
Yes.
comparative experimental research, then draw my conclusions out of that.
Yeah.
So that
So
that
that's it.
would be fine.
Yes.
I am asking this question because some of our students would be going through Master of Phytoscience
Ah,
in
okay.
the nearest possible time because we are already opening our School of Lifestyle Medicine, and we are going to have our Master of Phytoscience started this coming June. So that's why I asked these questions in order to prepare the minds of our students so that they can be thinking henceforth of what are we planning to do some experiments with. Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much for that enlightening points that you have presented. So research is really very, very helpful. While LIMS is focused on biblical studies, that's why BS in the last word of LIMS is biblical studies, if I'm not mistaken. So while it is focused on biblical studies, but research could cover a wide range of field of specialization, not only textual research or documentary research, I mean biblical research, but could also be extended to other areas, just like what Doc Ray has just mentioned this morning or has elaborated. So again, there may be some information that we have gathered. One in research, one could even challenge that. You wanted to verify whether that, for example, the vitamin of this particular plant is this percentage, etc., higher than the other one. You wanted to verify that. You conduct similar research based on what they had done and then see for yourself. Either you can confirm or not their finding, and then you repeat again through this through repetitions. Conduct 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if the finding is the same, then you can establish, wow, this is it. So you can duplicate the experiment that is conducted by others. So that is how it is now. So now, in qualitative research, as I have said, there is case studies. So in-depth investigation into the individual, group, for example, a particular, you are trying to know why is there people who join Church of Satan? You wanted to find out it is already a Church of Satan, yet they are interested of joining. They joined. So you wanted to know the reason. You didn't just jump into conclusion because your conclusion may be erroneous because you have not gathered data. You go into in-depth analysis. You interview and then find out the very common answers that you'll find, and this is the basic reason why they joined the Church of Satan. And there are even some posts about the reasons of some who joined the Church of Satan. So in a community, why are they behaving that way? Why is that community behaving that manner compared to others? They are not. So that could be conducted through qualitative research. So you do some observation, you do interview, and then you will find out the reason by using scientific procedure. Then also a focus group. So this would guide conversation around the topic among group or participants. So you group people and then you do research, questioning, conduct interviews, etc. Ethnography. So you interact and observe specific society. Why are these particular tribe behaving in a hinterland, in a mountain? This group of people behave differently. So you find out what is the reason behind. So you will be able to find out, and then you write it based on your findings. That would contribute knowledge. People who do not know, they will understand, they are behaving this way because of this. You provide them the reason because you are the ones who conducted the research. So these are the things that needs to be understood. Then interviews, you ask questions to the participants, learning their perspective on a particular subject. Then in quantitative, of course, you have the questionnaire. They will just, others would prefer quantitative because it would be easier to conduct. The only problem is if your coverage is so wide. For example, you are conducting research in the whole Philippines, just like Pars Asia and SWS nationwide. So that would be expensive because you will be asking persons, or you will be paying persons who will conduct a particular survey in Jensan, maybe in Davao, in Zamboanga, in Cagayan, in Cotabato. How you do the sampling and what method of sampling you use, like you maybe stratified sampling, cluster sampling, purposive sampling, whatever. So these are in quantitative research. So you conduct questionnaires. Another is experiment where you have control and test variables to demonstrate the effect and relationship. There is control group and there is test group. So it is the test group that is being treated. Control group will remain as is, but that would be the basis of comparison or making a conclusion, depending on the result of the test group. Then you do observations. You look into the quantifiable patterns and behavior. And then you conduct structured interviews using a predetermined structure, etc. So based on numerical data. So these are the highlights of the two basic, classification of research. There is qualitative and quantitative. Others enjoy conducting research through quantitative, but others would also prefer qualitative. But in gathering data, quantitative is easier because if you only have a statistician, you tabulate and then get the percentage. And then if you want to look into the significant relation is there, you do, for example, null hypothesis or alternate hypothesis. There is no significant relationship. So you will use a particular statistical tool to determine the relationship. So that is easier if you have a statistician pack. It's just a paperwork. Unlike qualitative, if your subject of respondents are in the mountain, you really have to go to the mountain. If your subject of research is in Israel or Jordan, your research pertains to what is the Jordan River mentioned in the Bible, and then you wanted to dig deeper, you do investigative research. Qualitative. You really go to a place, conduct questioning, conduct interview, etc. So that is, in some aspect, qualitative is expensive. In other aspects, quantitative is also expensive, but it depends on where you prefer. So there is qualitative and quantitative. So you are trying to look into a particular phenomenon, and then perhaps you will like to see the pattern you by observation, and then you can conduct some research by observing, analyzing, gathering data, and then you come up with a conclusion. So there is vast area in research, but since this is, I don't know what will be required in this subject later on, especially in research too, whether biblical analysis is required or it is open to quantitative or experimental, or that is only for 5 to what's that?
Hello, Doc. Doc.
Okay, go ahead.
In research too, it would be both
Okay.
qualitative, theological qualitative research,
Okay.
and also the quantitative research, but more on church management and leadership.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah. But I would like, can I give a few explanation, Doc?
Go ahead,
with
Doc.
regard,
Go ahead.
doon sa, ito po ay para sa mga walang background pa sa research, at research ay bago pa sa inyo, dahil dito, Doc, ay medyo yung mga nag-aaral ay yung matagal na tapos bumalik sa pag-aaral. Dahil kumbaga sa atin pa, limbs, ay binalikan sila ng limbs and to offer them opportunity.
Okay,
No?
okay.
So I would like, gusto ko i-explain ng konti yung sinasabi ni Doc Perral for the sake of the new and yet old newcomers, medyo na matagal nang hindi nag-aaral. So ganito po yun, mga kapatid. So for example, like for example, Duklaig. No? Duklaig has a special formulation for colon cleansing. Okay? So, kung gagamitin ni Doc Laig yung kanyang special formulation for colon cleansing, that will be so-called experimental study. So, he will establish a control group and the test group, or the experimental group, so, or the test group. So, for example, he will gather all the constipated persons. Okay? Tagalogin na lang natin para medyo madali, no? Lahat na gitubol, no? Ano ba yung gitubol sa Tagalog? Constipated ba? Paano ba yung Tagalog yung constipated, Sister Delia?
Tinitibe.
Ano?
Tinitibe.
Parang hindi naman yung Tagalog. So, ano yata yun eh. Yung Tagalog ba?
Hindi po makadumi. Constipated.
Oh, okay. Nahirapan. Constipated, oh.
Mahirapan magdumi.
Lahat na nahirapan dumumi. For example, just to make it clear to you, parang isi-simplify natin para maintindihan. Okay, napulo tanan. Okay, 100 na lang, no? 100 tanan. 100 lahat. Okay, so mag-establish po kayo ng control group. Ang sinasabi po ni Dr. Perral na control group, yung di mo tumar sa formulation ni Doc Laig. Okay. Yung the other half, yung mo tumar, yung mo inom. Okay, so eksperimentuhan si, for example, 1 week. Okay, then after 1 week, tingnan niyo yung mag-establish po si Doc Laig. This is just a rough, this is not a more detailed. Establish si Doc Laig kung ano yung mga gagawin at ano yung mga titingnan na i-record. Okay? So after 1 week na pag-inom ng kanyang formulation, tiningnan yung data. So nakita na yung control group, okay naman yung pagdumi nila. Ganitong ano, tapos yung uminom, halos pare-pareho lang. So titingnan yon, merong mga points yan mga kapatid na ituturo sa atin yan. Siguro ituturo din yan ni Doc Perral sa atin or later doon sa kay Doc Delphine na mayroong mga points yan that will establish whether it is significant or not significant, kung epektibo ba yung formulation ni Doc Laig. So doon makikita whether the formulation is good or not good or siguro outstanding o kung ano pa yung mga na-find out doon sa experiment na ginawa ni Doc Laig. Pero kung another way, yung quantitative naman din, ano lang yon, mga tanong-tanong ba? Testimonials. Okay, so sa testimonials, walang control group doon. No? Walang test group. Puro magandang testimonials no? Usually about the product. So binibigyan ko po kayo ng bird's eye view. Maybe Doc Perral could elaborate more on this. Doc.
Okay, so that is it. So that is experimental, and that is one way of conducting research. So it is very clear that this subject of research will not only be dealing with qualitative but also quantitative. Experimental is one aspect in of research that needs to be done, especially in treating disease or in finding out the effectiveness of a particular treatment that is being discovered or what is formulated.
Particular
So,
breakthrough. A particular, say for example, one of our students here has a breakthrough product.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will be experimented so that it will be found out rather whether it is really effective or not. So because research can establish if the results of the research is according to your hypothesis is proven to be true, well, that will be more POGI points for the promotion of the product. Is it right, Dr. Perral?
Yes, that's right. So it's good that the students here would be fully aware of the different kinds of research and the kind of research that will be used in finding out the product, or I mean finding out the effectiveness of the product that is formulated, or let's say that breakthrough experiment of a particular product. So you will now go to some testing if ever you want to test the effectiveness rather of the product, and then you have a control group, and then you have a test group. So that is very, very important. So since this will also engage in some quantitative aspect in research, perhaps I would be giving some details on how to conduct quantitative research so that our classmates will have an idea in case they would conduct quantitative research. Not only research which is qualitative, investigation, and biblical research. So this is very, very helpful, this research one. So I will not just focus on qualitative or biblical research, but I would also be giving some highlights on how to conduct quantitative research so that
Yes,
in the future, so we still have how many meetings? So I think we still have enough time so I can present to you how to conduct quantitative research, and then the details also of qualitative research, point by point, so that you know step by step, first step, second step, third step, and all these elements must be present in order for you to go ahead with the next step, etc., and then conduct proper your research. So thank you very much for that additional insights, Doc Ray. At least many would be enlightened on the importance of research, especially na mayroon palang mga breakthrough findings sa tungkol sa treating diseases, etc. So again, as I have pointed out, there is qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative has its origin in the social sciences, no? Anthropology, sociology, psychology, and our biblical studies belongs to this. Documentary research belongs to that because it would interpret available data. If ever the data that you've gathered is based on the Bible, then you do some gathering and then evaluate, analyze, then interpret. That is it. So before reaching to conclusion, you must have analyzed everything, evaluate everything, and then go to conclusion. Now, let us talk about documentary research. So documentary research is a type of question study that uses official and personal documents. So what is official document? It could be government document, or in the church, the most qualified document that is of highest reliability is the Bible. In fact, church manual, commentaries, etc., are subject to the Bible according to those who believe in the Bible. The highest authoritative, reliable document for the Christians, especially the Seventh-day Adventists, is the Bible. There may be some other documents. That is why this week we call documentary research as a source of information. So there are types of documents. There is printed, there is electronic, or graphics. So documentary research is a kind of research that consists in the selection and compilation of information. So you gather informations based on, let's say, theme or based on topic, etc. So you select and then you do some critiquing. So you read and then critique the documents and bibliographic materials. For example, you would like, your reference, the one you are inquiring is a particular book. Where is it published? Who is the author, etc., etc. Newspapers, libraries, documentation, information centers, you will find it. So in a particular library, you go and then you will find a newspaper. It could be a source of reference, etc. So this is documentary research. And there could also be sound recording sources of information, records in manuscript form, etc. So again, documentary research. Okay. So we cannot anymore go further in this aspect because it's already 9:30. So another teacher might be conducting the next session because mine is only up to 9:30. So again, let me just give this definition before we end. Documentary research is a type of research method that involves the systematic investigation based on the existing documents or records. So in our case, biblical research, biblical studies deals primarily with the Bible, and then secondary sources like commentaries, etc., Ellen White writings, and others. But our ultimate and primary basis, which we consider to be of highest authority, is the Bible. So we base our investigation on the existing document, and then these documents, maybe they are in a written form, in a visual or audio materials. such as articles, photographs, videos, and audio recordings. These are all documents. So in our research, we are heavily engaged in especially in biblical research. We will be dealing greatly within documentary research. The other one, as what Dr. Ray has mentioned, it is, although it may touch on some documents, because that would be a basis of formulating such such a treatment. You may be doing scanning and investigating some documents that speaks about it, and that is very true, but you also do actual experimentation. So it is combined method, actual experimentation, and do some documentary research. What does that document say about it? What does it say about it? And then you do the actual, and then either it is being confirmed, it is being supported, or it is being strengthened. Your research, your scientific, or rather your experiment findings could be strengthened and is affirmed by some documents, because you try to do documentary research. There is already a documentary research related to this. So again, your actual experiment could be enhanced or could be affirmed strongly by some findings of others which are printed in a document. So we will go further ahead. I mean, we will be discussing further next time during our next meeting next Sunday, because my time is up. And thank you very much for this opportunity. And I hope with this short time, we were able to gather vital ideas on how to conduct research. Thank you very much. I now return the time to Dr. Ray.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for that very dynamic discussion of research subject that we have this morning. Ako po'y excited na po, mga kapatid, dahil bukod doon sa mga gagawa ng mga bagong research, ay ako po'y very much concerned, excited doon sa ating mga kapatid na mayroon nang silang mga mayroon nang silang mga nagawang mga products talaga, no? They have already formulated at ito po si kapatid na Doc Laig at saka si kapatid na Aris, no? Dapat. So yun po ay dapat nating matulungan, mga kapatid, sila
mayroon na to.
pag ng research. Kaya ang presence ni Dr. Perral sa atin ay blessings, kasi ngayon pa lang we're already receiving much information about research at as he discussed, tayo po'y sasabak na sa mga methodology, no, na gagawin kung ano para makapag-conduct ng research. So si kapatid na Reggie din, parang meron din siyang na-imbento na product, no? Ano ba yung sa iyo, kapatid na Reggie, no? Makahiya ba 'yon? No?
Ito yung Moringa Wonder Oil.
Moringa Wonder Oil. So tutulungan natin yan na maka-undergo ng research, mga kapatid, research process.
Yes.
Kasi po pag nag-graduate kayo ng Master of Phytoscience, dapat mayroon kayong tinatawag na research talaga na established na ipapasa nyo, no, sa ating mga panel. Okay? So napaka-importante po. At sa yung mga susunod pa ng mga mga researchers. Kasi po, mga kapatid, magpapublish po tayo ng research journal. At ang inyong mga research ay ating ipapublish doon sa ating research journal. Tapos it will be reviewed by your peers. So ako po excited nitong ating journey sa ating pag-aaral dito sa school. Kasi hindi naman po tayo hanggang bachelor's, kundi we go to masteral, mayroon tayong doctoral, and doctoral degree is necessarily a research degree. Kaya excited po tayo mga kapatid for the journey that we have in this school, na patutunayan natin mga kapatid that we are doing and we are going through quality education kahit libre lang ang ating education dito sa LIMS International. No? So, yun po mga kapatid. We'll have a short break bago po mag-start ang ating susunod na